This is Bob. Bob is kinda insane, and he wants to collect the mystical gems of greatness. Bob has no idea what they are or what they do, but he wants to collect them for the sake of challenge. So for Bob, to get those gems, he has to overcome multiple traps, saws, spikes, and fire. He has to jump here and there and over there to get that gem. Pretty insane, right? Hello everyone and welcome to my second video. This is my first devlog of my first video game ever, Insanity. Now I'm not going to dive a lot into technicalities in this video, but I'm going to give you an introduction about the game and how I got into game development. I graduated with a Bachelor of Computer Science back in 2011, and since I was at school, I always wanted to become a game developer. I read a lot about computer graphics and other topics related to game development. However, I was so intimidated by these concepts because back then we didn't have all the tools that we have right now. Now let me be a little bit honest here. I sucked at math. And making these games required that you have at least the skills with math and linear algebra, and I didn't really have any of those back then, and I was really frustrated that because I don't have these skills, I was unable to do what I love and what I really aspired to do. I was lacking at this skill and I knew that. So I just decided back then to keep things as they were and become just a regular software developer. I graduated in June 2011, and at that time my home country, Egypt, was writing against the government, and it was hard at this time to get a job in Egypt because most of the companies in the country were freezing all the hiring. But I was lucky enough to get hired at one of the leading software houses in Egypt that make embedded software for cars. And yes, back then I used to make auto parking systems. But then after 2 years, I decided to let go of development and just shift my career. And I started exploring other options, and I was lucky to land to a very good job in the healthcare IT industry. I applied for a consultant job in 2013 and I was accepted, and since then and until this very moment, I'm still doing this job. With all the work that I have been engaged with, I always looked back and I wondered, why did I give up that dream? Why did I think less of myself back then? And I always looked at other people and I saw how they were pursuing their dream and they were fighting to get their dreams come true. And by just having this thought, it always frustrated me and I always thought that I was less. But that had to change. I needed to step up and do something about it. That was until 2018 when I played the legendary God of War on my PS4. I have to say here, and I'm not giving any reviews, but that game blew my mind. Every single detail in that game was just amazing. The level design, the story, the characters, the sounds, everything was just perfect. And while I was playing that game, I always thought to myself, why am I not working on something like that? Why am I not telling the stories that I want to tell in video games? And that was when I just decided to start working for my dream. I then went straight to Google and I searched and I just was saying, how can I become a game developer? And I was referred by a great article on IGN on a list of courses that you can take if you want to start your career as a game developer. And I found this course on Udemy by a great person and teacher called Jonathan Weinberger. It's called The Ultimate Guide of Game Development, and I just started taking this course. And this is when I discovered Unity, and oh my god, I was blown away by this engine because back then when I used to study computer graphics, we used to use OpenGL and do programming in C++, and you have no idea how hectic that was to just draw the objects and do the physics and the collision detection and all of these things. It was a nightmare, seriously. And I was blown away by how simple yet advanced Unity is. Does that even make sense? While working on the course, I made my first video game, and that was a sensational feeling for me. And from that day, I started working on very small games. I started going through tutorials. I started remembering how to code. Yes, after 5 years of actually not writing a single line of code, you kind of forget how to declare an array. So I decided to pursue my passion and restore the rusted skills and work harder into becoming a game developer. And all the skills that back then used to just put me down, and I would always say to myself that I wasn't good enough, I started to work on these things, and I then decided to just go for it. Nothing is gonna stop me. I kept on learning Unity more and more, but I never started a project of mine, so that kind of demotivated me because I never started an actual game. So in January 2020, I decided to start my first game, and that was Insanity. At first, I had no idea what kind of game I wanted to work on. Is it a 3D game, an FPS, a third person? So I didn't really know what kind of game do I want to start with. But at first, I decided to start with mobile, because mobile doesn't require that much of graphics, and I can make a simple game for mobile, and at the same time I can experiment with Unity and just cement my knowledge and skills with Unity with that first game. And that was it. It was time to start working on my super awesome game for mobile. I loaded Unity, I created a new project, I had my fingers on the keyboard, and I was ready to start coding. I had no idea where to start and what to make. It took me a lot of time to decide what kind of game do I want to make. Until one day, a friend of mine invited me to his house to play PS4 together. And back then we played Super Meat Boy. And that was the spark. That was when it hit me. I thought, why can't I make a game like that, but for mobile? A 2D platformer game that is fast-paced, that is challenging, and at the same time insane. It should be fun, right? So that was it. That was when I just started programming and making my game. At first, I called this game Twinkie Ninja because it was fast, filled with traps and jumping, and I love Twinkies.
Where's the fucking Twinkies?
I was able to make a prototype after a couple of days of programming, and this is how the game looked like back then. Through this devlog series, I will be going through the game and show how I made it on several episodes. I will show you how I turned this to this. Anyways, that's all for my video. Thank you for watching, and please consider subscribing in my channel if you're interested in this topic. And if you like that video, smash that like button and ring the notification button so that you're notified whenever I release any new videos. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.